All right, kids, this is going to be a good one. I reached out to my community, our community of fellow YouTube leadership channels, and I asked them 2 mistakes that you made as a new manager. My reason for this is because if you can learn from my mistakes times 4, times 5, then you don't have to make them yourself. You're more than welcome to make them, but you don't have to make them. So first, let me welcome you to the channel Leadership with Mike. On this channel, I help managers become leaders, and I do that with no nonsense sense, if that makes any sense. Let me start it off. My first mistake, or I guess I'll call them 2 of my biggest mistakes. 1, caring what other people think. Big picture, as you move in your career, people come and go. If you are a new and or young manager and you're worried about what Paul has to say, not Paul in the video, but John has to say, chances are you're with John for a 5-year window and then one of you is going to move on. But if you've taken the opportunity to move into management, to move into a leadership role, you're advancing yourself, and don't worry what John has to say. Because we get wrapped up into our cliques and who we're working closely with or whose opinion's going to matter. Nobody's opinion matters. And 9 times out of 10, people don't care what you do. They're more worried about what they're doing and what you think of that. Mistake number 2 was not keeping notes of my successes. When it comes time for a promotion, whether you're as an employee or you're already in a management role, if you don't keep track of your small wins and your big wins, nobody else is going to either. So when it comes time for an interview, especially when it's an internal interview, and they want to know why should you be hired above everybody else? If you've tracked your wins and did you increase sales for the company? Did you increase this? Did you decrease this? How did you streamline a process? All of these things, just take notes of them because 1 year, 5 years from now, you're not going to remember them. But if you document them and just have a little journal, that's where you can go back prior to your interview and refresh your mind on all the wins that you've had. And because you're a channel subscriber, I know you're going to have lots of them. Okay, let's get into what my friends have to say.
What's up, y'all? My name's McCloud. My channel is Grow Up, where you can find leadership and development tips, along with some fun with office comedy. Check it out. Okay. I've been in various leadership roles over the past 15 years, and if there's one thing I've done, I've made some epic mistakes. Yes, he has. Here's my top 2 mistakes for you to avoid. First, not understanding that you were in a completely new position. That took me a long time to figure out. Your job as a leader now is actually very different than the one you were doing before. You most likely were promoted into a leadership position because you were really good at doing that thing, whatever you were doing. And now you're supporting a team of people doing that thing, right? But aren't I supposed to show this team how to be outstanding like me? Look, that's awesome that you were an excellent performer and you were recognized for that. High five it. That skill and knowledge will be helpful for your team for sure. But that thing you were doing is not your work anymore. Your work now is being a people manager. The sooner you realize that and commit to being an excellent people manager, you will. People manager. Man, I like the sound of that. Mistake number 2. The other big mistake to avoid is focusing the majority of your effort, energy, and time into your team members' weaknesses. Meaning all your evaluations, feedback, coaching, their practice, dedication is all focused on filling performance gaps. But that's my job. I'm supposed to help them improve, right? Sure. Now your staff need to be aware of their developmental opportunities to ensure that they are meeting performance expectations and goals. But the bulk of your conversations and focus should be on uncovering and sharpening your team's strengths and talents. Shifting your focus to leveraging strengths will allow your team to feel valued, increasing their commitment to you, to their team, to the organization, to their performance, improving the experience of your staff and yourself. Talking about what I'm good at does sound pretty sweet. Gallup organization has a whole best-selling book series on strengths. From finding your strengths to strength-based leadership, they make an outstandingly thorough case as to why focusing on strengths is way more productive. A team of unique strengths forming like Voltron? Man, that's what I'm talking about. Yo, if you've been inspired by what I've shared, please consider hitting up my channel. That's Grow Up, Group. Hey, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, leadership mistakes. Nothing like, hey, let's get together and make a video and here, you can bare your soul. So for those of you that may not know me, my name is Mike Phillips from the YouTube channel, the same name, Mike Phillips. I do leadership education and training, and that's something I'm very passionate about. I've been in leadership roles for over 30 years now, from coaching hockey to coaching in business. So I would say the single biggest mistake that I have made, and I would say that a lot of other leaders and managers make, is we stop learning. So we get promoted into a position of management. We get that title, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, we've made it. Hey, I made it to the position that I wanted to make it to. And one of the things that we forget is we stop doing the things that got us into that position in the first place, right? We are not hungry to learn and grow ourselves. And keep in mind, people that are following you, people that are your employees or your staff members, a level 8 employee that's trying to learn and grow is not going to follow a level 7 manager for very long. So you have to make sure first to work on yourself, and you have to maintain a really positive mindset and stay teachable. So I encourage you, work on yourself for at least 20 to 30 minutes every day, something that will grow you and move you in a direction that you want to go, because that will allow you to bring other people along in a direction that they want to go, and for you to act as a really good leader, manager, and mentor.
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me to collab on this video. Hi, I'm Emma of Emma Fairhurst Leadership, and in my channel, I share the insights that I've gained through applying my graduate leadership degree to my 15 years as a leader in the Canadian military. So a mistake that I made when I was a new leader was that I believed that I had to be somebody other than who I am in order to be successful as a leader. When I joined the military, I looked around at the leaders around me and I didn't see very many people that looked and acted like me. So I started to mimic the leadership and the leaders that I saw around me. I was starting to try and emulate what they were doing because I felt that in order to be successful, I had to lead like they were. This caused me to constantly doubt myself because I was trying to be someone else. So I was constantly doubting as to whether or not I was acting like I should be, rather than focusing on acting like myself. The best leaders are authentic and feel comfortable coming to work as themselves and showing that they are human. So the challenge then comes to how do we integrate who we are with our leadership? How do we leverage who we are to being the best leaders that we can be? Well, it's about figuring out what about you makes you a strong leader, and what about you can you bring to the table and apply it to your leadership. I recommend taking a look at your strengths and trying to integrate them into your leadership success. I have found significantly more success in my leadership when I am being myself than when I was trying to be someone else. So lean into your strengths, figure out how they integrate into your leadership practice, and add value to your organization. I guarantee you, you'll never be happier. Thanks again, Mike. You have brought together an amazing group of leaders for this video.
Hey Mike, thanks for inviting me onto your channel again. It's a real honor. I'm Paul from the Productivity Edge channel. We help leaders and professionals navigate that crazy corporate world. We've got loads of advice on leadership, management, mental health, well-being, all sorts. I've made loads of mistakes in my 20 plus years as a people manager. Here are two of them that stick in my mind. First off, Not addressing the bad apple in the team. At a previous company, I built a team into a reasonably well-performing unit. I'd been promoted into the role ahead of one of the longer-serving members of the team. And while it was okay at first, his attitude began to change after a few months. It soon became apparent that this person was actually having a disruptive effect on the rest of the team, and he'd begun to negatively influence their perception of me as a manager and as a person. So I thought I could turn it around as an inexperienced manager by acting as a role model, driving, empowering leadership, empathizing, doing all the really cool stuff and the right things, following the right path of leadership. But it clearly wasn't working. This person had made their mind up and their attitude was gone. And on reflection, I really should have addressed that issue head on by speaking directly to the individual and sorting it out. By the time I eventually did that, it was too late, and his impact had destroyed the productivity and the attitudes of the rest of the team. As a manager, it's vital to understand that bad apples in your team have a disproportionately large impact on the team, and one bad attitude can poison a whole load of good attitudes in a team. And on this occasion, I really should have been more direct about it. The second mistake is being too concerned with the happiness of the team. In my very first management role, I was very conscious that I wanted my team to be happy. I wanted people to enjoy coming to work, be happy with their work and happy as people. So I kept asking about their happiness, and I kept saying thank you. Thank you for their efforts, thank you for their work, thank you for turning up all the time, time after time. And this got to the point where one of the team came to me and asked me to please stop saying thank you for their work. He said that they know what to do and I don't need to keep saying thank you all the time. I also focused so much on keeping them happy that I didn't keep tabs on deliverables, I took on too much work for myself, and I didn't delegate well. I was scared to allocate the team challenging and difficult work in case it upset them, and I didn't follow up on mistakes that were made enough. As a manager, team happiness is super important, but so is delivery and getting the job done. Managers need to ensure that the team is delivering and moving forward and doing their job, and they also need to delegate effectively. And it's really important as well to make sure that the team delivers, not just for the team themselves and for your own progress, but also to show that to management that the individuals in your team are developing, delivering results, and are skilled and are valuable to the organisation. Plus, they're also getting exciting and interesting and challenging work to do. It's important to realise that you're going to make a ton of mistakes as you learn how to be a manager and a leader, but each one is an incredibly valuable learning experience and should be embraced rather than feared. I love helping new managers as they develop into individuals that can evolve careers, coach people, and really make a difference. Have a look at the Productivity Ace channel for loads more content on that subject. We've got loads going on. Mike, thanks very much.
One mistake I made is ironically the very opposite of a very common leadership mistake. The very first thing I tell my viewers and my clients is that you have to have trust in your employees. Because if you don't have trust, you start to micromanage and performance goes down as much as morale goes down with your staff, and it never leads to a great outcome. So here I was taking over a new huge leadership role in a different country. We just took over a team from a different organization. And I was determined not to micromanage. But over the next couple of weeks, I noticed something. Initially, they went home at 5 o'clock. And then after a week, many of them stayed until 6 o'clock. And after a couple of weeks, many of them stayed well past 7 p.m., which is highly unusual for the culture that I was working in. But of course, I'm not micromanaging. I had regular team meetings. They told me about things going on and some of the problems that occurred. But in general, it all seemed fine. Except that the processes didn't work fine. And predictably, after another couple of weeks, I got the first client complaints. And after another week or two, I got the first complaints that went up to my boss. And you can imagine how that worked out. And then it occurred to me, it wasn't that the team couldn't do their job. It was that the previous boss has led them very differently. Needless to say, I had to dive right into it, get my hands dirty a little bit, so to speak, and really understand what was going on at that particular time. And it wasn't micromanagement, but I had to be hands-on at that particular case. And that's the mistake I made. To mistake micromanagement for being a little bit more hands-on and understand what the processes are about that your team is performing. Because especially when you start a new job, it is paramount to truly understand where your team is coming from, how they've been led before, and what their expectations are. So at the start of a project, make sure that you obsess about the details without being controlling. but otherwise you could lose a lot.
Okay, I don't care who you are. You have to know that this was some great mistakes that we made. And we did it for you. I want to thank everybody for coming and giving me their videos. Emma, Kai, Paul, Ian, Mike. It's very much appreciated. Please, if you haven't already, grab the links in the description and make sure you subscribe to each and every one of these channels. I can speak from personal experience. All of their videos are spot on. They are all fantastic creators. And even if we happen to be talking about the same topic, I'm going to say it in a certain way. Emma's going to have a different perspective on the same topic. Same as Paul, Kai, Mike, Ian. We all, as a collective, have a wealth of information. And you just need to make sure you're following all of us so that if we repeat ourselves, one of us will get through to you. One of us, you're going to say, that's it. That's what I've been missing. So again, thank you to the creators. Thank you to you for being a subscriber. And I'm going to see you in the next video right after my coffee.